Oh, links. Here we go. And then I gotta give you. Oops, did it twice. Gosh, my computer's running slow. That's it. I'm gonna kill. Oh, I'm still streaming actually, so that's probably the problem with that. Yes, I would get out of OBS Studio, I guess. Right on.
And now I need to get.
I would get out of OBS Studio, I guess. Well, at least I sound good. Hey, what is up, YouTube? We'll do our intro. I'm Court Campbell. I'm an evangelist, a technology evangelist. Hello.
I'm Michael Hun. I am a professional services consultant at LucidWorks, and we're going to continue on from where we left off last week.
Live stream 2.
Numero dos.
Numero dos. Okay, so Michael's going to get his connection to the Google Hangouts thing set up. Next week, hopefully, we were working on trying to get a multiple camera input thing rolling with some different software, but we're going to do Google Hangouts again, and because it works. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out. So in this episode, we're going to pick up. We left off with us trying to get a pre-indexing pipeline whenever you set up Fusion, which is a search engine, to ingest data. It's crawling a website, and so then when the crawler returns the data, you can do something with the data before it's put into the index. So that's what we were working on last week. We sort of got it working, not exactly. So Michael has some follow-up stuff that he's going to do today. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how we start Fusion for the live stream. And I do that on Google. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share up my screen. If I can find it. I have like 20 screens. And then I'm going to share up my screen, and then I'm going to kick it over to Michael here in just a second. So I'm going to share my, I don't really want to share my entire screen. Oh, you know what I need to do here.
Am I getting on the video call?
Yeah, I think you can connect to the video calls, what you're going to do. Yeah. Aha. So now I can actually share it. So this is my view of a new install of Fusion running, and it's got an IP address in here because I just fired it up. So I'm going to show you actually how I did that. So there's a, my shell's all sort of fried. Let's see if there we go, Google. All right, so we have a repo, which is under LucidWorks Streams that you can go into. And then inside of there is a directory called scripts. And this script actually starts Fusion, but it uses the gcloud command. So you have to run this on Google Compute, basically. You can run gcloud, the gcloud command on your browser, or from your shell, but here I'm in a browser, right? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run the start Fusion. And what actually happens is, assuming that you run this on Google Cloud, GCP, that it will actually start up a Fusion instance for you. And I make it to where it's preemptible. And so, which means that once it's started and running, which it takes a little while for it to provision it, that it actually makes it shut off in 24 hours. So if you forget about it,
okay,
because it's a kind of a fast instance, it's sort of expensive too, right?
Right.
So it turns itself off in 24 hours is what it does, right? So I've already got one running here, but the way that you start it is you just simply run the start Fusion command, and then after it starts it, it'll spit out, what its IP address is and tells you what the IP address is and stuff. And so that script is in the episodes or the stream repo on GitHub, and we'll keep adding different ways to start different types of Fusion servers. But for now, this is just an instance on Google. So that's it. That's pretty much all I wanted to show. So now I'm going to kick it over to Michael.
I'm not, because I'm in the Hangout, but I think I might need an invite.
Oh, I got you. So I'll invite you in. We can do that. So I'm going to stop my screen presentation so you can see me flounder around with inviting you. Okay, so here's links, video embed, maybe.
So that's the YouTube.
Oh, here's a plus sign where I can add you. Yeah, there we go. I did do that, but. Yeah, there we go. All right, and you should have an invite in your email.
Okay.
I can also send you a link for it, but. So once the Fusion server is running, and then you'll actually go to the URL that it gives you for the initial login, it's going to ask you to choose a password, and then we're just going to make that foobar222 and agree to the license terms, and then save the password, and then you can skip the registration. In this case, that's what we're going to do. We're going to skip the registration on that step, and then we're now in the Fusion UI, and then Michael's going to take over from here. But I just wanted to show you how to get in initially and set that up is by going to the URL and just giving it a password. Did you get the invite?
I got in.
No worries. Let me go up here and grab the. I'm going to just grab the URL. Probably the fastest thing to do. I should have done that in Slack. There, it's in Slack for you.
We'll get this right.
Oh yeah, we'll become old hat at it eventually.
It's only episode 2. Okay, got it.
All right, here comes Michael. So I'm going to kick it over to Michael. There he is. All right.
All right. So now what I need to do is share my screen.
That's right.
We're going to get into this mess again. Oh, is it fine?
That's great. You can actually, what I did is I put, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So, all right. So now we're going to, we just installed Fusion or set it up, and now create a password.
Oh, I already just changed the password while you were doing all that.
Okay. So I should just be able to reload it. I should just be able to reload it.
There you go.
And it is admin and
F00 BAR222.
Everybody get that?
Oh yeah.
There it is.
I mean, they're welcome to log into the server and shut off after a while.
And back to our default collection.
So tell me a little bit about what you were talking about doing. What are we going to actually do today with it?
Okay, so I'm going to be over there now. Okay.
Well, no, it's just we can look and then I'll click it back over to your screen.
Okay.
I just figured you could explain what we're going to do with it today.
Okay, so let's see. Starting off from what we did last week, we went out and we made that call to the URL to capture a bit of information and then roll it up into our content. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a bit of language detection.
Okay.
We're going to do after we finish setting up the levels and all that.
Okay.
Then we'll set a Fusion has indexing pipeline state that actually will take various fields and observe what language it is, and it will output basically like if it's English, it'll EN, or if it's Spanish, ES. So
okay, so it'll actually add that to the index to tell you what it is. So
yeah, so we can do that. It will do it automatically as long as you set the field representation in the data itself.
Okay. So do we need to? I'm going to click back over to your screen. So do we need a HGO2 that's in like German or anything like that?
Well, yeah, that would be good if we did that. So let's we need to add in that, recreate the data source again. So what am I thinking? I don't care. But crawl, we'll call it, and we will actually create a new. So you get all these windows going here. So I'm just going to create a general pipeline. We'll leave it there. We can add the language detection here. We will need to figure out what the fields are going to be when we crawl. So usually for a web crawl, we can get the title and we can get the body. We usually come out and title _T and body _T. So we can use that, and I will put detect language. And then here, we will put for the source, I'll just hover over this so you can see what it says. So it's basically the field keys that you're going to use to detect the language. And I will put here, T. How do I know this is gonna be these fields? Because that's just how it's set to come out by default.
So when we crawl, it's going to have a title T and a body T.
It will
field in the JSON object that's pulled back.
Exactly. And where does that mapping happen? In the data source itself, well, it used to be in the data source itself that we would do that. Maybe this is what version 2. That's strange. Usually that pops up a list of predefined field mappings for a web crawler.
We haven't crawled anything though yet.
We haven't, but yeah, let's see what happens. Maybe which side are we gonna crawl?
I gave you. We can go to bahn.de.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the entire site. I'm sorry. bahn.de.
Okay, that's
and it's HTTPS.
okay. Let's.
So that's the trains in Germany.
Okay.
That's Bahn trains.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's.
Should we? We don't want to crawl the whole site though, do we?
No, we don't. We better.
Yeah.
Limit that. Let's just say I crawled up to 2 and maybe 20 documents.
Okay.
I will save that, and then we'll start the crawl. And wait.
Does it schedule those crawls automatically, or do I have to set up a schedule for it?
You would have to set up a scheduler. Let me save this really quick. Wait, let me make sure I finish this.
Oh yeah. Right.
That's okay. So we're gonna say output it to the document. If it was in the context means the pipeline document, so we could add it to the context of the pipeline document. We could fool around with it more,
Gotcha.
or we could add it to the document because we want it to definitely be
Indexed. So the document gets indexed. The pipeline document is an object that gets created that might be dumped before it gets stuck in the index.
Exactly.
Yep.
So okay, so let's save this. And we're going to call this okay. Now let's save it. So we have this new pipeline with the language detection, field mapping, the solar dynamic. So this one is the one. This is the one that sort of interprets what field type to use on a particular piece of text that comes in. Comes in. So if it's a long, it'll say _L. If it's a string, it'll do an _S. And if it's a significant amount of text, it will make it an actual text field instead of a string field.
The different parts of the content that it's pulling out.
I think really what's going on behind the scenes is especially for strings versus text, you'll notice that title will have an _S and an _T. Depending on the length of the text. So if it's a certain length, it'll make a duplicate of it for 10 times. But if it's big enough, it's just going to say, I know this is not a string. We'll just make it.
Obviously, so
Okay, so there we go. We did that, and I need to go back to the data source for a second and change the pipeline to. Let me cancel this for a second. Sometimes you gotta refresh.
You're gonna tell it.
I'm gonna tell it to use that for the pipeline. And there it is. Done. Okay, save this. All right, now we're ready to go. And there. So we are crawling. Look at the job history. About it failed. Oh no. Why did it fail? I bet you know why it failed. Start with code that doesn't tell me anything. No. I think we're gonna need to look at some logs.
Okay.
Which means I need to go to the cloud.
You can look at the log there too. Right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Logging.
That's where am I? Okay. Let's see. Let's go to. I forgot that I can.
There's so much.
Okay, Fusion Cloud. That looks like something. Crawl controller because runtime reader. Okay. Oncoming caused by execution.
Field start link.
This is field start link. Yeah.
Oh, maybe able to find valid certification and to request a target.
Something, yeah.
It says security valid engineer. Okay, I have failed. Unable to find valid certification and request a target.
Interesting.
I can try to find the other side. Although it should work.
But I'm gonna go to that side, I would think.
I'm just looking at the robot stuff text. So we're not trying to. We're crawling P. Yeah, we're good. There's a few. So let's see here. Switch real quick and show. So what I did is one of the things you want to check is, make sure that you can actually crawl something and show that. I was just looking at that. So I went to your robot stuff text.
Check it, and this is what they've got for the robot stuff text. So
Oh, okay.
That's probably not in it. It's back. Yes, you're back on.
Okay, I'm wondering if, let's see, allow all HTTPS certificates. If all security checks will be performed, maybe I should check that.
Okay, yeah.
Let's.
Now, before we would delete, we deleted the, clear the data source, right? But we haven't crawled
We
anything,
haven't
so
crawled
it doesn't
anything,
matter.
right?
And then,
So let's try. I did save that again, just in case. I checked that. Allow HTTP. Oh, you know what? Diagnostic mode. Let's turn that on, which will turn up some volume for us. And maybe that might give us a little bit more information. That's what happens when everything's done. So it's running. If I click this, will it, success.
yeah, okay.
There we go.
So some HTTPS, some TLS error or something maybe. I had that happen with my site. I didn't have all my certs installed correctly.
Right.
Although you would assume that bond with that. Well, so there we go. So, and we're in business because it's German.
I should be seeing something. Wait a second. Where's my languages field?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm looking for it too.
You said this was gonna work.
Yeah, but that's the challenge,
That's
right?
the challenge.
That's it. Here's some more stuff.
Okay, so here I'm gonna try. Okay.
There's 2 pages of it. I'm just saying.
Right.
Oh, this is another page.
Yeah.
Right, each of these are separate pages that we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So this is just showing us a sample of what's being built back, right?
Yeah. So actually,
So I noticed something.
tell me.
Well, it says default right here. So are you actually in the right?
For the this is the query.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you.
So actually, I am gonna look back at this for a second. Go back here. This. There's a body.
Name the key to insert in the context of the output type is context.
That's fine. So I should be seeing some underscore blank field. And I could document. I'm so dumb. I mean, I'm very smart. So one of the things, okay, so why didn't it work? Because I had it at the top.
You know,
And that mapping where the produces the underscore T and underscore S happens here. And so
I didn't have those yet.
it didn't have those yet.
Okay, so you were talking about the field mapping. So the field mapping would map. So there's a dynamic field name mapping, which happens after the field mapping, which would be, I guess, manual.
Right.
These are manual.
Yeah, and we don't have, so let's actually just remove this one because it's not doing anything right now. We'll add it back
I
to
got you.
later.
And
This is the one that's doing like that sort of dynamic mapping. So we have in the header we have like the title, so we get the title underscore T from that, and we probably have some other metadata about attack this together, and we'll get those fields as well. So that's where this whole detection of like the type of value that is in the pipeline document field is represented. So now we'll get the underscore T in the body underscore, and then now we'll be able to check it.
I got you.
So let me go back.
And you're
Now I can clear the data source.
Because you
Because I
index some
did,
stuff,
we actually
yeah.
did index something, which was great. And I want to make sure I save this. And you know what? I'm gonna do something else because this is what we probably should be doing. I'm gonna go to the index workbench, and I'm gonna configure a data source for it, which we already had. No, I just want to load. There we go. So this is a way to work with indexing and like in place without having to go through all that. Okay, so we're already on the DE default, and we have the title.
Do we recall? Oh, look, title T line DE.
There it is.
Yeah.
And did we get one for? We did. You got one for the body too.
Nice.
So actually, what it's doing,
interesting.
that's pretty interesting. So that's what it's doing. So what it's doing is creating language fields for each field that we enter into, instead of just sort of compiling.
Right.
So I guess if the title was in English and the body was in German, then it would tell us. It would tell us that.
Interesting.
That's an interesting outcome.
So now that's in. So if I were to do a query, like to the API
Right.
of this, maybe we could do that, I guess, actually with a curl or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So we would get back that as long as it, whatever we were searching for matched on page.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, let's do that. Let's just go ahead and crawl the data source. I'm gonna clear this again just to make sure. Start. Let it crawl about some number of documents.
When it says schedule there, it's just, I would schedule it, I would tell it to schedule it to run at midnight or it is some, right, okay.
Yeah.
And then does it sort of like, it'll crawl for a while and then it'll just remember what it needs to crawl the next time when it starts back up?
Yeah. So, oh, you mean so preserving it in a crawl, in like a crawl? For the, yes. For a web crawl, it will go through. It obviously has to go through all the pages to do the check, but it won't index something if it has not been updated since the last time.
Gotcha.
In other
It'll check the time.
It'll check the time, and it'll yeah, and I think there's like a signature as well.
That's cool. Right on.
And that's essentially what happens with some of the other connectors, like for Google Drive or Box or anything. It'll preserve it in a crawl VB. So later when it goes back to recrawl these items, you don't want to have to go through the indexing process on something that is
Right.
necessary.
Right, that makes sense.
Or even like for Box and Google Drive and some of those other like Confluence and Jira, there's the timestamp that's actually preserved. So the crawler will just say, "Oh, give me everything since." Right.
So then the web server knows not to.
Exactly. So that finished. And what I wanted to show you was going back to the query workbench. I'm going to add a facet in place. And the facet that I'm going to add is okay, body underscore T underscore Lang is on. The field is here. You can see it. Okay. I don't want to get more to it, but we're going to make it. I'll just type it, I guess.
Yeah.
And we'll do another one for. So, what's the difference between how the index is the alphanumeric order, and count is just the number of facets per item. And that's
so the number of documents it found with body T
exactly
being whatever.
Exactly.
It's going to give us count, like if there was English and German.
Yeah, it would say like 25
right.
English and
well,
can't say 25 because there's only 20 documents at most. I would say apply, And there we go. So you got 19 documents and
Right.
and the title and the body.
And they're all German.
Right. I think we could do something. Do we really need 2 fields with that? I think what we could probably do is take the field values and just say we just need 1 and put it in just a language field. I'm sure there's something I'm missing with this with that language detection stage that we can probably just unify it. But essentially, that's maybe we can crawl some more sites, some more documents, and see if we can.
Okay. So we can add another URL. Can we add a?
We sure can. Yeah,
extra
yeah,
URL?
we sure can. Let's do that.
Okay, I'll grab another URL. And it's gonna hit the robots text cloud, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I guess I could do the English. So it's just bond.com.
Okay.
/en.
HTTPS.
HTTPS www.bond.com.
Okay. Maybe I should put
Yeah.
the www.
www.
Okay. Save. Let's clear it. Come on. Goodbye. Okay.
So maybe what we could do here is just to illustrate this a little bit better, just so that we're not using, I guess.
Let me save this first so I can make sure that.
Oh, this good stuff is not.
No. Oh, to the query pipeline. Fine. Yes. Okay. So that saves it to this default query pipeline. I probably should have named it something different, but.
And the query pipeline is the thing that gets called when there's a search done, right?
Right.
So it's gonna call that particular, the default pipeline is gonna get called.
Yeah,
right?
the default pipeline is going to get
Yeah.
called, and actually, I'm going to remove. I'm going to remove the
The boost.
It's not really doing anything.
Disabling.
So it boosts. So the next field would be the next thing is. I think we showed this again last week. Is the number of results per request that we turn. So here we have it set to 10. The result offset starts at 0 because it's a 0 offset. So it's 0 for document 1.
Gotcha.
Results sort order. If I was to put like title underscore T ascending or descending, then I would do that. The fields that we're going. So
when we could actually sort based on like what is in English or in German or English.
Yeah. So the one thing about so if we don't have this stage, what ends up happening here is we're using the eDismax parser by using this stage. We could essentially eDismax is an extension of the Dismax parser, which
What's that stand for? Dismax.
I should know this.
I'm here to ask the hard questions.
Yeah, I know. It is. Oh, I forget what the term is. It's something.
It's an acronym.
It is. Do you know what?
Yeah. He's looking.
I'm cheating.
Yeah.
I've got.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually, I'm bringing up here, doing it. Yeah, Dismax query parser.
Also, it's not patterns. Nice.
I forget what the actual Dismax stands for, but it's essentially a solar query parser that you can define various parameters. So
it helps you change the weighting of the results.
The weighting and so by default, if you just query solar, it'll query against the default field that's set in your schema, which in Fusion we've set it to underscore text underscore, which is a catch-all field. So any field that gets indexed in a document, they just throw the content into that field, so you can search across everything.
Oh, interesting.
With the eDismax parser, we can define the fields that we want to search across specifically. So we can say, but in addition to that, I can say if it's found, if you find something in the title, then I want you to boost that. And if you find, and I want you to say, matter of fact, I'm just gonna do this, so, if you find something in the body, don't boost it, it's fine, but, you know, that's what another field that we want you to search about. What field do I want returned? Star means everything, and then including the score of the document where it fell at during the
Right.
right. I'm not gonna fool around with this too much because I really want to see all the fields come out because I don't know what I want and what I don't want yet. So I'm gonna apply this again. I know we don't have anything. I'm gonna save it because I want to actually save what we've done. And okay, so now we're gonna crawl 2 sites.
Yep.
And I cleared the data source, but just in case, do it again, and then run. And go. So we wait. It's gonna go through and start calling both of those sites, up to 20 documents, and it's done. All right. And we got French, German, and English.
Oh, interesting. But it's only got 1 page in English.
It's only got 1 page in French.
So did we tell it in the other?
Oh, you know why? Let's go back over to here. Because I told it, it's not 20, because I limited the documents to 20. It's 20 documents total. Total, not per crawl.
I got you. So do you only want to maybe, I don't think the site's that big, so maybe we do 100 or something.
I would say, I'm just gonna do, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll say a depth of 4,
Okay. Yeah.
and then,
Couple hundred.
yeah, let's say 500. Okay, 500.
Yeah. And then we're gonna save that, and then we're gonna clear the data source.
Yes.
And let's change the URL if
Okay.
you humor me. So change that bond.de, change that to www.bond.com/DE/
And change it one to E/EN.
So I guess it's gonna crawl one and then it's gonna crawl the other, right? Is that probably what's happening there? Let's find out.
Yeah, I think the crawl is
Probably gonna do the first one and then it's gonna do the first one, it's gonna crawl, and then it's gonna crawl the second one.
I think it will. I think if you set, there's some right, that we can.
Oh,
I got you. So it's the one that's,
Okay, so,
Save.
Yep.
Just save it again until I get paranoid and then start.
Maybe not as fast as what was still.
but because we have soft commits set for every 10 seconds,
Oh, interesting.
we should see something coming in. Uh-oh.
Should I give you a bad URL?
I'm back at the logs.
You should check this out.
Oh, you know what? That's a 404. That's my fault.
Failed start link.
Yeah, they'll certainly. So it's en/view/index. So,
Okay.
yeah, so it's gonna be, I guess,
Oh, it's slash.
yeah, let's delete that second one. I have an idea.
Okay.
Let's delete delete that, yeah. So we'll kill that guy. And then on this one, we're gonna make it, let me make sure this works. So it's /view/ that doesn't work. They're doing it differently. Oh, I see. They're just redirecting it to the bond.de.
Okay,
So
so
you can change that to en there.
okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
And do you want me to do the other one?
No, let's just do that
Okay.
one and see what it does. I just sort of like playing
Okay.
around with it, I guess. Right?
Sure.
See what we get.
Okay, okay, let's do this. Clear. Okay, must be doing something. Ah, it failed.
Really? So bond.com/en/view/index. Non-OK HTTP SAS 404. Right down at the bottom. And then you said www.bond.com/en/view-index.shtml.
No, I did not say that.
Yeah, that was my fault. I should have. I saw that earlier. What is an SHTML?
It's very quiet HTML. I got jokes.
Seems familiar. Like
Shall we look up
So it's not.
is a file extension that lets web servers know that the file should be processed by using server-side includes SSL. Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Jeremy.
there's nothing to clear because it failed, but
Yeah.
anyway, we'll do it again.
Come on, we're gonna find some German pages and they seem like pages. That's what I wanted.
I want to see some. I should have found out what it is. A combination of.
I wonder if it's gonna be like title in English and German in the body or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out. Okay.
It's running.
It says it's running. Still okay.
Yeah, it's probably all one. Right.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh,
We got a lot of stuff coming in. Wait, we got a lot of stuff. The next 10.
So it's picked up the other pages. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so let's pick some. Okay, so it looks like they're all okay.
Why does it say web crawl over there?
Where do you see that?
You see that underneath the site notice?
Oh, so that is the data source.
I gotcha. Okay, so show me the data source.
Yeah.
This isn't like a
Yeah,
page result. or
Yeah.
anything like that.
There's ways that we can. Yeah, I was. Well, there's our language detection stuff, so that's good. So one thing I noticed is if I look at these two numbers, English body is 264, English title is 158.
Interesting. So it found more titles.
It found more
Yeah.
more content where the body was
Mm-hmm.
English than the title.
But none of those numbers are different too, because there's only a couple more that are, but substantially almost 100 more. 100 and some change more body titles. That's interesting.
Okay. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. So let's say, here's some tricks we can do. So let's say where it's not English, some title. But see, this is the kind of fun stuff that you actually get to do when you don't have to worry about once you get through sort of the ingestion process, you can start really analyzing what's going on. So I'm going to say where the title's not English and see. Actually, no, I'm going to say where the title is English, and then we'll see something fun. Okay. Oh. So when the title is not English, I have 160 documents where the body is English. 106 documents where the body is English. So I did a query that said
Right. So you've got some documents where the title, the body is English, but the title is not.
right.
Yeah.
Let's see what that is.
Interesting thing. Oh, so it's picked up the fact that,
Okay.
yeah. So it's got some words in there that it's picking up that are, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
especially if it were to say, oh, for
that would
here, it's like, well,
I guess Deutsche
Deutsche Bahn, right? Deutsche Bahn is what
okay.
it's going to pick up. And Berlin and Munich, right?
Right.
Even though those may not be spelled exactly how with the umlaut on,
Right.
right? But it's still going to probably pick up that that's.
I would wonder if, okay. This is good to know. So I'm gonna go to this pipeline again. Oh, this is only for the so fine. Okay, so I guess if I was to put, so if I wanted to output into the context, it'll output this information into the context into something called languages, where I can probably go in using some JavaScript stage to grab that information out and then do sort of a comparison, like how many of the fields are, like the field, like we have English and English, so the majority of the content in this document is English.
Right.
But if we have something where it says like maybe the title is English and the body's German, we may say, well, we want it just to be German.
I see.
It's just a German document. So that was the language detection feature. What else should we look at? Anything else you want to look at?
So I clicked on your URI over on the right there at the top.
Okay.
So that I assume these are for what you're doing, the context from what you're doing. You can click on the working URI.
So that's sort of like the Fusion behind the scenes URI that it uses to go to. But if you wanted to actually take, yes, copy the clipboard, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you're going to open a new tab and you're going to stick that in there.
And it's going to give you the JSON reference.
This is the JSON. This is the JSON object, right?
Right.
Now, I would note that you've got you have a cookie, right?
Yes.
So if we were to want to actually authenticate with a piece of software to pull this,
Right.
to be able, which we'll do in subsequent episodes, we're
Right.
doing API calls into the Fusion server itself after it crawls. We send it to data. We're going to have the username and password, which we would do in the URL.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so we would go up here, and I'm just going to,
Sure.
we would just go up here and we would change this to hello. We would change this to what, HTTP admin, right? And then foobar222 at, right? That's how we would pass in for simple HTTP. That's how we would pass in our username and password to authenticate.
Right. If you're going to do, so it's funny that you brought this up because I'm having a discussion with one of my clients about how can we sessionize this for your application of the app. So so in Fusion you can send a per request authentication the same way you just did there, sort of passing the username and password on every time you make a request, or you can establish a session
Token, like as a token.
yeah, and essentially you pass the token along with so you don't have to keep passing the username and password along every time.
And then I would get the token by authenticating to an endpoint that would give you the token.
Which is the session API.
The session
So you authenticate first with the session API with your username and password, and then it'll pass you back a session cookie, and then you just continue to pass it back every time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's essentially what I was discussing with one of my clients today about that. So if they're watching, they probably know who I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about some other class.
Some other person.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly. So, I suppose, how many minutes we got? We got a little bit of time left.
Okay.
Streaming for, like 15 minutes, something, we'll cut it short. So, but we're gonna slowly build up a story here.
yeah,
So,
okay,
so
yeah.
once we get past sort of the streaming and then the sort of like becoming familiar with the UI, because a lot of the stuff you're doing in the UI, I haven't seen before.
Okay.
So I've messed around with it quite a bit, but then I've been also using the cloud version, which is completely different. Right?
Yeah,
And so, like the UI itself, for example, you have this stuff down at the bottom, which is sort of interesting because we talked about it, I think, a little bit last time, but it's like the pipeline is where you get the data. Then it's like, once it's come in, now I have the data, I'm gonna do something to it at that part of the pipeline.
right.
So the bottom's sort of laid out like a pipeline. A little
Yeah,
bit.
essentially that's how I lay it out, because I always start with the data source, and the next thing that I end up opening is either the indexing pipeline or the parsers.
Mhm.
So, it just naturally comes out like that for me. So then I go to the index pipeline. So after I finish fooling around with this, well, what do I want to do? Well, I want to query some stuff and
Yeah, that's
do
right.
query workbench.
You kind of work back and forth as opposed to up and down. You're working sort of side to side with it because it is what it is in the
Indexing pipeline, right?
Exactly.
There's sort of this flow of, like, up to this point, we've got the right data. And here we're trying to get,
Right.
whenever somebody, for example, we know we're indexing it correctly, it's identifying that it's, the language.
Right.
But now we're looking at extract data and pull it into something else. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's the query workbench I would work in to do that. And
Yeah. So, and if I was really gonna be smart about the way that I was doing this data source index workbench, because then I can actually fool around with this stuff live and then be able to make the modifications, and I can save it. So if I like the results, then I save it so it's preserved.
right.
And now, what do I want to do? Okay, I can kind of see the results here, but now I kind of want to really fool around with the query pipeline, because I'm gonna add, like, I don't know. Well, I didn't have this stuff. If I had some signals, I want to add that in. I went about redefining like some of the for the e-dispatch parser and adding boosting. So that helped out with it. So that helped out with that, and then again, applying it will just give you the results in time.
Yeah.
But then I had to apply it, go ahead and save it. And I think I'm gonna make a point because I think people get a little bit confused when they go into these workbenches and they just hit apply, and then apply means it's saving it to the pipeline.
The whole page. Yeah.
And that's not, so when you go back, you close out your windows, and then the next day you go back and you're like, I'm gonna look at this stuff, I'm gonna show somebody what I did, and you open up your query pipeline, and then you're looking at it, it's like, well, what happened to all my stuff?
Yeah.
Because you didn't hit save, you gotta save it.
Yes,
Always save it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and each step of the way.
Each step of the way.
Yeah.
applying it just renders what's happening currently in your session. Saving it preserves it for.
Now we're going to export the configuration. Saves it for a lifetime. And every time that we finish up one of these, the things that you've done in the UI will be then extracted with the configs. And then we'll upload those into the episode directory, so that these configs will be stored in the episode 2 directory on GitHub.
Right.
And so if anybody wants to stand that up, we'll have to do a video later, or maybe I'll put some documentation together this week and put it in the repo on how to load in the configs. But essentially, we're going to suck the configs out, save them, and then somebody else could pick them up and stuff them in their version of Fusion, right? And then it would update that, and it would look like this for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have to go through the
They don't have
steps.
to go through all of this.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're looking for more ideas. So I'm continuing to listen to people, and you're talking to people and stuff. So if anybody has any suggestions, we'd love to hear from you.
And at some point, we'll have some followers.
Maybe
not today,
Maybe tomorrow. One day, you're gonna wish you could have been on the train early.
Yeah, get on the train early. Because,
I don't even know you. Yes, here's my autograph. There you go.
You know, we have like 1,500 followers on our other YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
So we're going to tap into that.
Oh,
as soon as
okay.
we get this all worked out. All right, dude.
Thank you
so much. All right. See you guys later.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Have a great weekend.